How much blood did you withdraw from Mr. Simpson?
Approximately 8 cc's.
You say approximately. You did not measure the amount?
Well, it could have been 7.9 or it could have been 8.1. I just looked at the syringe and looked at about 8 cc's. I withdrew the needle from his arm.
Nobody asked you to take a precise amount of blood? And you did not record the amount of blood you took?
No. It's just routinely, that's about the amount I usually draw.
And you do this on a routine basis every day? Do you do this every day in the jail, take blood?
Oh, whenever, not for this sort of thing. It's usually for alcohol, blood alcohol.
But you do take blood on a regular basis, and you take the same amount of blood?
Yes.
Sure. Another test tube kept putting in water until it looked approximately as to what I had drawn. I measured that, and that was about 6.5 cc's. So I estimated that's what I really had drawn.
So, after you had done this, what conclusion did you come to?
I came to the conclusion that I was wrong in the statement I made, that I didn't draw 8 cc's, that I drew about 6 to 6.5.
I just looked at the syringe and it looked at about 8 cc's.
That was
Remember
that statement, which I shouldn't have made. I looked at it, I should have said it looked like it was enough, which it was enough. Yeah. 8 cc's, I was wrong in that 8 cc's altogether.
How many times have you taken blood from Parker Center out to a crime scene?
I don't know. This may have been the first time. I don't know. I can't recall right now any other times that I've done that.
So now you're saying that Mr. Simpson's gray manila envelope with the blood sample in it was put into that black plastic trash bag that Miss Mazzola was carrying.
To the best of my recollection, yes.
And did you place it in the trash bag in her sight, in her presence?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
You just said, I don't think so, and then you said, I don't recall.
That's right.
You told us that one would expect that these swatches, having been put in a test tube at 6:30 p.m. on June 13th and removed at 7:30 a.m. on June 14th, to be dry.
Yes.
Given that fact,
Given that opinion,
what is your opinion about the existence of these transfer stains?
overall.
Only opinion I can giving under this circumstance, something wrong.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Well, as I enter the foyer of my house, we're going to go back and talk about blood drops. I think it should be noted that at no time did they count the swatches that they used to collect these blood drops at Bundy, in the driveway here or anywhere in this case. And the next day when they processed these blood drops or these swatches, they did it in the same area that they had my reference vial. And I'm told by DNA experts that that is a no-no. Now, if you come down here, I'm going to place this picture down at this spot here. This picture shows 3 blood drops that they said that they found in my foyer right about this spot. As you can see by my thumbnail, which is bigger than these pegs, that these are pretty small drops. And I believe it was Michael Batten that testified that that would be indicative of a small paper cut, certainly not of a big cut. I think we should also point out that it was in this area that Detective Van Adder claimed that he turned over my reference vial to Dennis Fung. Now, I guess it was in a garbage bag or something, and they gave that to Andrea Mazzola, who took it out even though they never told her that a reference vial was in that bag. When Andrea Mazzola was asked, did you see this exchange take place? She testified that for that 1 minute, we call it the Mazzola minute, she went into the other room, sat on the couch, and closed her eyes. Sort of a variation on see no evil and hear no evil. Incidentally, they checked all of these items, the doorknob, the light switches. As we move over to my staircase, the rug, my banister, checked all of these items for blood, and of course, no blood found. And if you look at this carpeting, it's a little more plush than the carpeting that was in my Bronco. Those Bruno Magli shoes had some ridges in them. You would have thought that if there was some blood in there anywhere, that this carpeting would have picked up some of it, and of course it didn't. Now let's go up to my bedroom.
In Mr. Simpson's master bedroom area, did you see someone walking around with a videotape camera?
I don't recall when I saw the videotape camera coming through. I do recall it being there, though.
You recall a gentleman named Mr. Ford. Do you know him?
Yes, I do.
African-American gentleman?
Yes.
And he was the one that was carrying around the video camera?
Yes.
You have no recollection whatsoever of them, of Mr. Ford with the video camera up in the master bedroom at or around the time that you were doing collection?
Again, I didn't keep track of Mr. Ford at that time.
Have you seen that videotape?
No, I have not.
Have you had discussions with anybody about that videotape?
No.
Have you had any discussions with people at SID about what's shown on that videotape?
No.
Have you had discussions with anyone in the district attorney's office as to what's shown on that videotape?
No.
Has anybody anywhere communicated to you anything about whether or not at 4:14 in the afternoon those socks are depicted on that videotape?
No one has communicated that information to me or with me.
Has anybody indicated to you there's some question as to whether or not those socks are on the videotape? So I believe it was your testimony on direct examination that you collected the socks sometime between 4:30 and 4:40.
About then, yes.
And then before you left the residence, you collected two other items, numbers 15 and 16, and those were at 5 and 5:05.
Then we come to those socks. Those socks. They just don't fit. They just don't fit. They just don't fit. Watch with me now a video. I want you to watch the time counter in this time frame, and you'll understand how important this is. This is Mr. Willie Ford going up into the bedroom. It's 3:13, which he says is 4:13 because it hadn't been changed. This is 4:13 p.m. on June 13th, 1994. Okay, thank you, Howard. You look at the foot of the bed there, where the socks are supposed to be. You'll see no socks in this video. And you'll recall that Mr. Willie Ford testified about this. And I asked him, well, where are the socks, Mr. Ford? I didn't see any socks. So now, that's interesting, isn't it? At 4:13, on June 13th, 1994, these socks, they supposedly recovered. These mysterious socks. These socks that no one sees any blood on until August 4th, all of a sudden. These socks that are picked up, that Looper says he picks them up because they just look out of place. I don't have any reason to pick them up. I'll just take these socks. They're out of place.
Well, as I come up my stairs, white carpeting all the way, banister, they checked everything and no blood. Now come with me into my bedroom. Now this is my bedroom. Incidentally, I believe this is a book that every American should read. This is the room and this is the area basically where the police claim to have found the socks. Even they admit that these socks seem somewhat out of place. What's interesting about that is a videographer named Willie Ford, a police officer, was here at 4:13. He photographed the entire room. He didn't see any socks. No one told him to try to avoid stepping on any socks. And if you look at that video, what I find very curious is the video goes right up to the point where you would see the socks. The video goes off, and about 4 or 5 feet beyond that, the video begins again. So just that crucial area where the socks would have been, you don't see. What's key about Willie Ford being here at 4:13 is Andrea Mazzola and Dennis Fong in their log show that they collected the socks after 4:30. After 4:30. Where were those socks when Willie Ford was in this room? Another point I'd like to make about this videographer. Throughout this trial, we asked for film? Was there any film taken? This is for you pundits and you people out there that say the police won't cover up and they're forthcoming all the time. We asked on TV, in the courtroom, out of the courtroom, time and time again, were there any film? Were there any videographer here? Was there any film taken? And they denied it, they denied it, they denied it. Willie Ford is a Afro-American or African-American, a big man with a video camera. I find it hard to believe that you can miss this guy. Now, months and months later, we're looking at some still pictures. And lo and behold, what do we see in one of these still pictures? A picture of a videographer, Willie Ford, in this house taking pictures. Now, I submit to you, there are police all over this house, all over the place. There were police officers who directed this man on what pictures to take, what pictures not to take. We're on national TV time and again. We made requests for, was there any video taken? Was there any film taken at these scenes? And the police denied it. They denied it. They denied it, even though obviously many of them knew there was some video taken. Their excuse was a police officer said he threw it in his drawer and he forgot about it. He forgot about it. One other point before I leave my bedroom. Now, this is my bedroom. As you notice, it faces east. It faces my swimming pool and my tennis court, and the entry to my house is to the west. Now, perceptions in this case has really had an interesting effect on the public and on the pundits. I think it was Alan Park that mentioned that when he drove up, he couldn't see any lights on in my house. And of course, Marcia Clark took that, as she does often, and before the trial was over, it was a definitive, there was no lights on in his house. Tom Brokaw found that very interesting because he stated after our aborted interview, my aborted interview with NBC, that was a question he wanted to ask me. Why were you getting dressed in the dark? There was no lights on in the house, and I want to show you something to answer that.